Parshat Shmot contains a very strange episode. We are told that Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moses, was on his way from Midian to Egypt to begin his mission to rescue the Hebrew slaves. And on the way there, he was at an inn. He was staying overnight with his wife and his young children, and one of which was an infant son. And Hashem desired to kill Moshe. And Zipporah realized that the reason why this was going to happen is because Moshe hadn't circumcised his son, and she therefore organized for the circumcision to happen. And as soon as the circumcision, the Brit Milah, happened, Hashem went away from Moshe and he was able to continue on his mission. The Talmud analyzes this and it wonders, how is this possible? Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moses, the greatest of all prophets, he who is called an Eved Hashem, a servant of God, why wouldn't he want to circumcise his own child? What was his sin? What did he do wrong? And the Talmud explains that Moshe, of course, wanted to circumcise his son. And when they got to the inn, the first thing that he did was he settled in. He got everything organized, put all of his packages down, and then he was going to do the Brit Milah. And because he tarried, even though it was only for a few moments, Hashem took him to task. Now, this wouldn't happen to the average person. The Talmud tells us that Hashem holds the great righteous people to a much higher standard than a regular person. But nevertheless, we see, and the Talmud points out, how particular we should be when it comes to performing a mitzvah timeously. And specifically the mitzvah Brit Milah, of circumcision, where the Talmud says, Zrizim Makdimin Lemitzvot. People who act with alacrity, people who are ardent to serve God, will make sure to do mitzvot as soon as possible. As soon as the mitzvah becomes applicable, they will try to do it. There was recently an incredible story about doing a Brit Milah, doing a circumcision on time in Israel. This happened about a month ago. The famous Rabbi Mahpud, who is a well-known Mohel, a great Talmid Chacham, a great Torah scholar, was on his way to a bris, close to the airport in Israel. But there was a terrible, terrible traffic jam. And this was an afternoon bris. It was in winter, and sunset was approaching. And one can only do a Brit before the sun sets. Otherwise, you have to push it off to the next day. And he could see from the traffic jam he wasn't going to get to the celebration hall in time. And he called the mother, and he told her that. And the mother said, I'm also in the same traffic jam. The father had gone ahead, and he had actually been stopped by the police. So Rabbi Mahpud said to the mother, look, pull over. And that's what she did. She pulled over. And he went to the car, and he performed the Brit Milah on the side of the road, just before the sunset. The driver of the vehicle was the Sandek who held the baby, and he performed the Brit Milah there and then. And then afterwards they went and they had a celebration in the hall. But this shows the commitment that Jewish people have to fulfilling the word of Hashem, and that even somebody as great as Moshe was held to task, was taken to task because he delayed. As soon as a mitzvah becomes applicable, as soon as we can do it, we should do so immediately. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.